Today, we're going to trace one family's incredible journey. It starts with just a single line in a financial ledger and ends up as a rich chapter in American history. It's a story of resilience, of love, and really the profound fight to be seen not as property, but as people.
So here's the thing. This is the single biggest challenge for anyone researching African American history. For genealogists, there's what they call a brick wall, right at the year 1865. See, before that, the U.S. Census just didn't record the names of most enslaved people. They were listed, sure, but usually just as numbers, ages, and genders, under the name of their enslaver. So where do you even start? It all starts here, with this one tiny fragment. It's from the 1860 estate inventory of a man named James Speight in North Carolina. This was basically a legal list of all the property he owned when he died. And on that list, right there among the furniture and the livestock, we find a human being, identified only by her first name. Yeah, that one line, that's our starting point. From this, completely dehumanizing entry, researchers began the detective work to uncover not just a name, but a real living, breathing person. Okay, so let's dig into this crucial document a little more. The 1860 estate papers for James Speight. You have to remember, this wasn't a family record. It was purely a financial one. People were listed as assets, just things to be valued, divided up, and passed on. And there she is again, Hannah, with an appraised value of $500. This is her very first appearance in any official record. Not as a person with hopes and a story, but as an asset with a price tag. And then you see this. Negro man, Bailham, valued at $600. Now, records from the time suggest they were probably a couple, but their relationship had absolutely no legal standing. In the eyes of the law, they were just two separate pieces of property that happened to belong to the same man. And finally, a young man named Lemon, also valued at $500. Hannah, Bailham, and Lemon. 3 names in a ledger. That was it. Before freedom, that's all the official record would give them. But after freedom, that's when they started writing their own story. So, how in the world did Hannah's story change? The end of the Civil War didn't just magically create perfect records. It created chaos, but it also created opportunity. For millions of newly freed people, one of the very first things they did was make their families official in the eyes of the law. And this right here, this is one of the most powerful tools researchers have to bridge that 1865 gap. A cohabitation bond. It was a formal declaration that a couple who had lived as husband and wife while enslaved would continue to do so now as free people. It's an absolutely crucial link between the past and the future. Okay, so this timeline really shows you just how complex life was during this transition. Around 1866, Hannah and Bailham filed that cohabitation bond. But her son, Lemon, was actually born a year later, in 1867, and his father was another man, Loderick Artis. These kinds of complex family structures were really common. By 1869, she formally marries Bailham, and then in 1870, for the first time ever, she appears in the U.S. Census by her full name, Hannah Speight. I mean, just look at this. The transformation is absolutely staggering. In just 10 years, Hannah went from being listed as property in an inventory to a citizen in the national census. From an anonymous woman to Hannah Speight, a wife and a mother. This wasn't just some change in legal status. This was the public claiming of an identity.
Okay, but what about Bailham? His story is just as incredible. His journey to freedom wasn't passive at all. He didn't just sit back and wait for emancipation to be handed to him.
And this is a really important point. Freedom wasn't something that was just given to him. Like hundreds of thousands of other Black men, Bailham saw the Civil War as more than just a conflict between states. He saw it as a personal chance to grab hold of his own destiny. No, he made a choice. He made the courageous, world-altering decision to enlist. He chose to join the fight, and in doing so, he actively turned the war for the Union into a deeply personal war for his own liberation. He became a soldier in the 14th Regiment. And I mean, think about that. It was both a profound risk and a powerful declaration of his own humanity. The 14th U.S. Colored Heavy Artillery. By putting on that Union uniform, Bailham wasn't just a soldier, he was a statement. He was actively helping to dismantle the very system that had held him as property. And his military service, well, that would later become a critical part of his family's records, creating a paper trail that proved essential for his wife's Hannah's widow's pension application decades later.
You know, nobody builds a life from scratch, all by themselves. For the Speight's, freedom meant weaving themselves into a community. Genealogists actually have a name for this. They call it the fan club. That's the network of family, friends, and neighbors that was really the bedrock of life after emancipation. So these were the building blocks of their new world. They formalized their family, and they raised more than 10 children together. They joined the Baptist Church, which was way more than just a place of worship. It was a social and community center. They settled in Kinston, North Carolina, surrounded by friends. And their kinship network, people like Bailham's brother Isaac, provided sworn testimony that helped Hannah secure her widow's pension, proving her family was legit in the eyes of the government.
So when you put it all together, what do you get? It's about taking all these scattered pieces, an inventory, a census record, a pension file, and seeing them not as just separate facts, but as chapters in a single powerful story.
And this, right here, is the playbook for how researchers do this incredible work. They start with a tiny fragment, our Negro woman Hannah. They jump that 1865 gap by looking for that same name in the same place after the war. Then they connect the dots with those super important linking documents. And finally, they use census data to rebuild the entire world that person lived in, mapping out their family and their neighbors. It's just meticulous, painstaking work.
You know, there's this one quote from Hannah's pension file that it gets me every time. It's from a witness. In a world where official documents for African Americans were so scarce, a person's character and their standing in their community, that became a kind of record in itself. The fact that they were admitted to their church was proof of their legitimate marriage, a testament to their respectability that was every bit as valid as some piece of government paper.
So in the end, the story of Hannah, Bailham, and Speight, it's so much more than just a family tree, right? It's a powerful testament to agency, to people who flat out refused to be defined by a ledger. They built families, they fought in wars, they created communities, they fought to be counted, and their legacy is right there, in the archives, just waiting for us to piece it all together.
And that really leaves you with one big question, doesn't it? The Speight family was found through some incredibly dedicated research, but their story is one of millions. It just makes you wonder, how many other histories, how many other legacies are still locked away in those ledgers and files, just waiting for someone to find them?